Hello everybody, my name's Chris, and I've had a Bigfoot encounter. Welcome to my new channel. Maybe some of you have also had a Bigfoot encounter, and you're looking around on the internet to research the subject. Most of you by now have a good idea about what comes next. If not by your own experience, you've probably at least heard of some of the personal hardships and struggles from other people these encounters can be, as they find the courage within, or with the help of God, who made these beings, by the way, to tell their real encounters. I'm starting this new channel in direct response to a few other channels becoming basically overwhelmed by all of the communications from folks with encounters. These other great hosts may not be able to respond to and read these literally thousands of important stories because of sheer volume alone. Therefore, I'm offering an additional place for you to be heard. We will operate on the honor system, and you'll be believed and taken seriously. For years, I've watched on TV whenever there's a Bigfoot story that comes up occasionally, and they do, just to see the news hosts make jokes, snicker among themselves, wisecracks, and demeaning the people who have these occasional Bigfoot or UFO or other unusual stories. It seems to be an effort to discredit us folks who have had experience with these things. And of course, I hated every second of it. Our public servants, you know, the ones that receive their paycheck from we the people, are a big cause as to why we're ridiculed by the news media. And therefore, friends and family don't believe us either. This leaves us all vulnerable. Folks head out thinking that these things do not exist, and they have nothing to worry about, and then come across one. Now, the government, some folks think, do have information on these beings, and we should be able to have that same information to prepare ourselves and our families to be safe, to know that we may come across some, and what to do if we do come across some. Now, this channel will be dedicated to allowing you, the listener, to send via email your real encounters. I'll read them, and I will automatically just not say your name unless you specifically say, please tell people my name. But the important thing is to get your stories out there so that people know that there is another one and another story and another one of real people who've had real encounters. Therefore, they can prepare themselves and their children. And to start things off, I'll start with my own encounter. First of all, I would like to ask that you be patient with me. I may stumble my words or whatever. I think I'll begin with a time that I went fishing at a Lake Clendenning in southern Ohio. Me and my friend were fishing at night, as we liked to do. We liked to go catfishing and for crappie also. And we were just the two of us. We were all by ourselves. And while fishing, we heard footsteps behind us, and tree branches breaking and crackling, and the brush was popping. And we looked at each other, and we're thinking, what is that? And we said to each other, it must be maybe a wolf or coyote or something. And my friend brought up the idea, or it could be a big cat. There have been stories of some in the area. Now, this was back in the mid-1980s when this happened. There was not the internet, and really not a lot of resources to be able to check into the things like we have resources today to check sightings, sounds, that type of thing. So anyway, we kept fishing, and the footsteps kept getting closer, and big cracks and pops of wood. And it got so close that we both jumped over the bank and into the water, which was ankle deep at the time. And I had a little 380 automatic sidearm that I pulled out. And we were scared, actually. And as we were in the water, we faced the forest behind us, which was probably 50 yards to where a forest, a small wooded lot, I shouldn't say a forest, to where we had the car parked. So we were facing that direction, and then the footsteps went away. So we continued fishing the rest of the night. We didn't catch anything, by the way. Now, when daylight came, I decided that I would go into this small wooded area near the lake, between the lake, our fishing spot, and where we parked the car, to look around to see what was on the floor of the woods, to see what was breaking and snapping and popping because something was stepping on it. And there wasn't anything. It was just a trail and shin-high plants. And I was like scratching my head thinking, now what in the world would have made that sound? There's nothing here that something could have been stepping on making that type of sound. So we brushed it off and chalked it up to just some weird thing that happened to us. Now fast forward up to, I think it was the year 1993. I was fishing with my brother-in-law, two of my brother-in-laws, by the way, and we were at another lake in Ohio, and we were night fishing once again. We had our lantern sitting down by the lake to draw in the crappie, and we were using minnows for bait. And it was another night we weren't catching any fish. We were losing bait, however. Now, as we were fishing, we were kind of in an alcove. Our backs were right to the road that drove by, but in front of us was an alcove, and a small peninsula jutted out in front of us, and maybe 50 yards long with some trees on it. And just to the left of that was a wide opening out into the large lake. Well, it was a moonlit night, and one of my brother-in-laws says, "Hey, look over there." And I said, "Whoa." It was something in the water. It looked to be about 4 feet long, I thought, and said to them at the time, it must be a beaver. Beavers get about 4 feet long. And it was just kind of smoothly walking or swimming, but it didn't look like there was any type of swimming motion, which is why I thought maybe a beaver. And as it was maybe 100 feet away from us, and it was backlit by the moon. It swam over toward us off to the right, and it went into a darkened area. I couldn't see it any longer, but I heard it come out of the water, thump, thump, onto the land, and then it shook off like a dog does, and I could hear its hair soaked with water flapping back and forth, and I was astonished. Now, I was sitting in between my two brothers-in-law. The lantern was in front of me, so I had light in my eyes. The brother-in-law to the left, as he looked off to the right toward where this sight was happening, had the lantern in his eyes. But my brother-in-law on my right, when he looked off to his right, the lantern was on the back of his head and shining forward beyond him. He was the only one that saw what came out of the water. And he screamed like a little girl. He said, "It's a monster with red eyes." I said, "What?" He said, "It's a monster with red eyes. It shook off and it walked over into the woods over there, and it's gone now." Totally amazing. We kind of kidded him about it a little bit, and several weeks later he said, "I know it was a Bigfoot that I saw." But we've lost contact with that brother-in-law due to other circumstances, and have really not spoken to him since. I've had other smaller experiences on trips to West Virginia where we have heard them call out at night, along with sounding like two or three were talking to each other. This was in the Monongahela National Forest. So yes, there are many encounters, and I've told people, but they laugh at me and kid back and everything. This doesn't bother me, however. I'm just that type of person. But many folks get very bothered if people ridicule them and don't believe them. So I figured that I would go forward and post my story first. You can always email your story to me if you like the way I may tell the story. I'm offering you the place to do it. I'm not very smooth right now, just getting started. Please forgive me stumbling around. All you have to do is send whatever you would like to send to bfrealencounters@mail.com. That email address is in the description below. Just click on the see more or more options below this video. That is bfrealencounters@mail.com. I'll be glad to share your story. If you have any photographs or video or audio and you know how to send those through email and attach them to it, I'd be glad to share those also. Everything will be confidential unless you say not to be. But it is an outlet for you. You know, this is a very, very interesting subject. I've been interested all my life about it ever since I saw the TV series back in the 1970s, In Search Of, which most folks my age can relate to that. That's what got us seeing it, and the Patterson-Gimlin film. But then we start having these experiences, and we chalk it up to a mystery, because we think of these creatures as being in the Pacific Northwest only. Well, I can verify they are not only in the Pacific Northwest. They are in my location in Ohio. I've seen them. I've heard them. I've seen evidence. The pictures that you are seeing on this video, every picture I've taken myself with my camera. And there are one or two pictures of some footprints. They're not very clear. Nothing castable. And also some stick structures that I have seen in my area on some popular nature trails. Twisted branches, that type of thing. So I do know that they are here. I have educated myself on other channels, And in the description, actually it's not in the description, it's on my channel page. There are other channels that I do watch and are on my recommended list for you. A shout out to Dixie Cryptid, The Facts by How to Hunt, Scott Carpenter. Those fellows are very, very knowledgeable about the subject, very prominent. And if you're not able to get through to them, I would be glad to read your story for you. So keep me in mind. Send your story out, because your story matters, and this is a non-ridicule zone. Please keep us in mind. Like, share, subscribe. We hope to hear from you soon.